Good evening, everyone. I'm Sandra Washington, and I have the pleasure of moderating tonight's Sarasota County Schools Digital Town Hall, and thank you for joining us. We welcome those that are watching on Facebook Live, SarasotaCountySchools.net, and on Education Channel, Comcast 20 and Frontier 33. We also invite you to send your questions by email and Twitter, and thanks to those who have sent in emails in advance. In our first half an hour, we will discuss the school district's campus safety initiative. The school district is enhancing safety and security measures, including the start of a school police force. For our second half of the hour, we will talk about mental and health, an important topic that's important to many of you. And our school district is enhancing support for the mental and emotional well-being of our students. Let's get started on the topic at school safety and security. I'd like to ask the panelists to introduce yourselves, starting with Superintendent Dr. Todd Bowden.
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Todd Bowden, Superintendent of Schools.
Bridget Ziegler, Chairman of the Sarasota County School Board.
Michael Andreas, Director of the Department of Public Safety.
Hi, Kirk Hutchinson. I'm the principal at Atwater Elementary School.
Hello, I'm Jody Dumas, Executive Director of Facilities, Planning, and Construction.
Good evening, I'm Kathy Ebaugh, Director of Planning.
Hello, I'm Mina Ajrab. I'm the Manager of Digital Communications, and I'll be monitoring Facebook for all the questions that come in tonight.
Okay, thank you so very much. I'd like to start by asking Mike Andreas to explain what the Campus Safety Initiative is and these improvements will enhance, how the improvements will enhance the Sarasota County schools.
Sure, great question. So the Campus Safety Initiative is a collaborative, comprehensive system of safety security that we're implementing across the district. And so when you look at how schools are made safe, it's a collaborative, interconnected system of assets, hard assets, people, human beings, policies, best practices, all of those kinds of things. And so really, to answer that question succinctly, the CSI is just a collaborative system of safety security.
That's good. And please feel free to expand on whatever the question is at hand. Feel free to just go right ahead. You don't have to wait on me to ask a question.
Sure.
Okay. Would anybody like to expand on that?
Well, I think it's important that, after the incident in Parkland on Valentine's Day, we, like many other districts around not only the state but the country, took a look at our safety practices. And really it was a recommitment to things that we had discussed previously. We've been talking about our physical environments at our schools. The debate was not about what was the right thing to do at our school sites, but was it a 3 or 5 year time horizon? And so we made a decision that we needed to do that now. It would be difficult to explain to a community that your school was in year 5 of a 5-year initiative. So we accelerated those efforts to alter the physical environment of our schools according to best practice. We also took a look at the resources of the district to make sure that we had the right people in the right positions and had allocated sufficient resources to our own Department of Safety and Security. And so we added a number of positions, but we also transferred responsibility in regards to making sure that we had a centralized place that all of the decisions about safety and security were taking place. And then the final one was just talking about how do we provide personnel to each school site. Starting at spring break, we have an officer on every campus in this district. Prior to Parkland, the school resource officer program was limited to middle and high schools. Starting after spring break, we extended that out to our elementary schools. And so from spring break to the end of the school tomorrow, we had an officer from either one of the municipalities, City of Northport, City of Sarasota, or the City of Venice, or the Sheriff's Department at those school sites. We did that at district expense. Typically those were off-duty officers that were picking up that detail, but we felt it was important that we have an officer on every campus. But then we looked on a longer time horizon and evaluated a number of options about how do we provide that security going forward into the 18-19 school year. And that's when we landed on our internal police department. We have changed Mike's responsibility from a director level to an executive director level position, and that recognizes the increased responsibility of overseeing an internal police department. And so we're excited about what 18-19 brings, but there's a lot of work to be done between now and the 13th of August, and you'll hear us reference that on a regular basis, be it the hiring of our police force or the altering of our physical environments. That August 13th date is really what's anchoring our work at this time.
And well, I was just going to add, actually, pre-Parkland, I know that's kind of this date that we always talk about, but as Michael had mentioned, there's this system, and it goes beyond. I know that the conversation of security is often, especially after Parkland, has been so focused on law enforcement's presence or what that looks like on our school district, but it's important to note that not only, we run, it's a large operation, the school district, considering how many students and staff members and teachers and families that come through it. And so working collaboratively and making sure beyond just that the infrastructure and the processes are followed so that we all play a role into this. So not just the traditional sense of the law enforcement component and what that looks like. I think it's really important to not leave our pulse, keep our pulse off of the system approach and training, and making sure our staff really feels supported and knowledgeable of what they need to do to keep our students safe as well.
And I think that's important as we look to the opening of schools. And I know tomorrow's the last day of school, but we're already talking about what do our schools look like when we open back up in August. But not just the physical environment and not just additional personnel, but the way that schools interact with the public, the way that you drop your child off, the way you pick your child up. You know, we're going to work with our students to make sure that they know the role that they play in safety and security. It's not just about hiring one individual and calling them a security officer or a school resource officer. It's about a community of people who saying that safety and security is important on their campus. And so I talk about altering a physical environment. We can spend a lot of money on a school campus, but if someone props a door open or lets an unknown person in a side door, that defeats the system of safety and security. And so understand that it's not just the responsibility of a school resource officer or an executive director of safety and security, but it's the responsibility of every staff member, every student, and every community member who's on our campus to be the eyes and ears and to say, wait, that looks out of place.
Absolutely. That is good information.
Yeah,
Did you
so
want to
that
say something?
I would just expand upon that. I would say that the system of safety security does expand beyond the footprint of our campuses. So it involves community stakeholders. It involves having different groups in and out of our campuses. It involves having awareness of what's going on around in our neighborhoods, what's happening in our neighborhoods around our campuses, and all those kinds of things. And so that's how we get to the preventative piece of that systems approach. And if all these assets, these systems, policies, procedures, and human beings, as they interact together in an interdependent way, then we have a system of safety security which gives us some redundancy. So if someone does prop open a gate, there are other elements of the system that help us to ensure the safety of our students. So
This is absolutely good information because everybody's kids are our kids, all of our kids. And the partnership that you're talking about with the sheriff's department or the police department, that is a good start too. And I know for a fact that Sarasota County Schools have done an excellent job. And I look forward to you all continuing that. So with all of that, as you said, we as a community too need to help.
Payroll.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'd like to start by asking Mike Andreas, okay, to explain what the Campus Safety Initiative is and how these improvements will enhance security at Sarasota County Schools.
Well, let me just continue to develop what the CSI, the Campus Safety Initiative, and so as we work together to develop the physical assets, but it's also a comprehensive improvement of our policies and procedures internally. And so how do our staff, our students, our visitors, our renters, or anyone who comes upon our campuses in any way or another, how they interact with our campuses, how the principals and his or her staffs manage their day. So the policies, and a lot of principals are looking for district level guidance for in a whole lot of areas. And so we are working on developing and providing that guidance to ensure that we have commonality, but that commonality is tailored to uniqueness of each of the campus sites.
One thing that I want to chime, kind of looking at the various steps that we're taking on the security part, I know that some recent, many years coming, we have been talking about closing School Avenue in Sarasota High School, which excitedly we were able and successful for the interlocal agreement in Sarasota. The city of Sarasota supported that in a 4-1 vote to expand the hours to close and secure our campus at Sarasota High. I know Kathy Ebaz worked tremendously long hours on that for multiple years, and so again, one more chip down the path to securing our schools.
And I want to ask Ms. Ebaz to expand on that. That's the next question. Would you go ahead and expand on what was just said?
Sure. We have been working for many years on trying to secure School Avenue. School Avenue is a road that intersects Sarasota High School right in the middle of the heart of the campus, and students, about 1,000 students every class period, change over that roadway. Back in 1999, 20 years ago, we were able to secure it at least for vehicular traffic, but it's always been open to pedestrians, bicyclists, motorists on scooters to come out through the campus at any time of the day through that open public access. We have wanted to close that since the very beginning, but and originally it was a traffic concern. It wasn't about safety and security. It was about traffic and making sure that people who are motoring through the campus, however they're getting through, aren't coming in conflict with our students.
Right.
Clearly, the world has changed since then, and the world that the students live in today is not the same world that existed back in 1999 when the first interlocal was passed. So today, as a result of the new interlocal that was just passed on Monday, thanks to our partnership with Sarasota County, or with the city of Sarasota, we have been able to secure the campus from 6:30 in the morning until 10 o'clock at night, which means that nobody will be able to come through the campus who doesn't belong there. They'll have to go through a single point of entry through the main office. That single point of entry has been in place since we rebuilt the campus about 2 years ago, but it didn't really matter. Just because there was a single point of entry didn't mean that you couldn't go through the School Avenue entrance. So now with the School Avenue entrance being closed this summer, when the start of school year happens, you won't be able to get through that way. And we couldn't have done it, like Ms. Ziegler said, we couldn't have done it without the partnership of the city of Sarasota, the staff, and the commissioners.
There you go, that partnership again. I would like to ask a question, though, about the 10 o'clock hour. Would that be because it can help would it cover their game times?
Yes.
Like when they have games, is that mainly one of the purposes?
Clubs, dramatic events, things that take place in the Performing Arts Center. There's just a lot of activity on our high school campuses. I say on a regular basis, I think our high school principals have the most difficult jobs in the field of public education. Their campuses open up at 6:30 every morning, and they close down at 10:30, 11 o'clock. And typically that's 6 days a week, sometimes 7. And so they're the centers of activity for their students. So it's sports teams, not just their contests, but practices in the Performing Arts Center, clubs. There's just a lot going on our campuses. So as you know, we debated the closure of School Ave, the 10 o'clock actually came from the principal at the workshop. As people said, originally it was set for an earlier hour. People said, well, really, isn't there still activity? And it was David Jones who said he'd feel so much better if that were extended to 10 o'clock. And what I like the most is that question didn't come to me, and it didn't come to our planning department, that it came to the principal. But the way that our school board and city council responded was, if that's what the principal feels like he needs to secure his site, then we're going to follow his lead.
Collaboration.
So the next phase is to continue working with the community and securing the campus on a permanent closure of School Avenue. We are moving forward with a vacation proposal to the City Commission and hope to have that get done before the end of the year. But that's going to take another partnership, and that's this time really partnering with the neighborhood as we work to provide additional safety and security measures in terms of the pedestrian walkability, the bikeability of the campus. We recognize that there are people who use that campus, and we need both our students and the neighborhoods, and we're going to work in partnership to find out the best way to make it safe for them to walk and bike around our campus rather than through our campus.
Excellent. Thank you. Do we have a Facebook question, Mina?
Sandra, actually, we've got an advanced question that we received via email, and I think it would probably be Kathy's question. We talk about single point entry, secure entry. We received an email about one of our schools, won't name it, that does not have a buzzer at the front door at the administration office. So I guess we can open this up. When, as a district, do we expect to have secure entry at all our schools?
So we are working, as Dr. Bowden mentioned, this year through our planning process. We accelerated all of our safety and security initiatives from a 5-year plan or 5-year initiative to a 1-year initiative. Our goal is to have most of our campuses secured before August 13th when kids arrive back on, but certainly through this campus year, through this school year, we will have all of our campuses secured. And the only one that we were concerned about was School Avenue, and now we're not. So Sarasota High and all of our campuses will be secured in this year, most of them before the start of school year.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you. Obviously, the school district would need to make changes to the physical structure of Sarasota High and other campuses to make them safer. Mr. Dumas, what types of structural changes can be expected over the coming months? What are some of the major changes students can expect when classes begin in August?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that question. So I just kind of capitalize on what Kathy was talking about in terms of our workload for this particular summer. So back what Dr. Bowden said, originally, we've always had campus security projects in the 5-year work plan, and examples of that would be Emma Booker campus and Toledo Blade, where we've recently in the last few years done some fencing around campus. But he recently said after spring break, hey, let's take the whole 5-year plan and let's do it this summer. And here's the money to go ahead and make that happen. And so a lot of different changes happening throughout the district on every campus throughout the summer. And so some of those projects are larger than others. They all include campus fencing throughout the entire campus. That includes sometimes chain link fencing in the back and more decorative fencing up front, so we're good neighbors with our community. It also includes secure front offices, single point of entry into the front office, a secure front office. So when parents and students arrive, that'll be one of the most probably recognizable changes in each one of the facilities. Is when you come in, you will be in a secure area with some bulletproof glass up kind of at the counter when you come to that particular counter. So it's going to change the way school operates a little bit in that front office area. But we're excited about those changes, and we think it's a good opportunity to not only secure front offices, but really still try and maintain that inviting appearance for parents and community members as they come in. So front offices are certainly going to be one of the large impacts we have across the district this summer. We are also doing a lot of work with locks and making sure we're upgrading locks throughout campuses in strategic locations. Again, Mr. Andreas is going to be directing those locations, and so we'll make sure we comply with his wishes in terms of that system and levels of approach on each campus. And then one of the other big additions will be additional security access on doors. And so any door that exits from a building to an unsecure area, there'll be security access. So nobody can enter those doors without having a badge and being tracked, and make sure we know who's coming on and off campuses. So throughout the district, there's a lot of that going on. We called upon all of our local contractors who we do business with all the time to say, hey, we need a hand with this. This is something that's not a normal schedule. We've got to get some of this stuff done. We've got to have it ready to start school. And so they're working with us. Having said that, there are some campuses like Atwater Elementary. With Dr. Hutchinson sitting next to me is the principal there. He can talk a little bit about Atwater, where that's a campus that has been designed recently, and so it's designed as a secure campus. So there are fewer things we have to do over the summer. So we're confident in schools like that. We're going to be ready to go start school, so that's wonderful. And then there are other schools that haven't been designed recently. They were built quite a few years ago, and so those campuses are a little more challenging. Front office is a little more challenging. So we'll be in very various states of readiness across the district as we start school. And so one of the things we ask parents is, as you come on that first day of school and you enter that main office, you may be entering an office that's not 100% ready like you're normally used to with Sarasota County Schools. We always pride ourselves in being ready day one. You may not have that. You'll have a front office that's set up, and there'll be people there assisting you, but there may be some form of construction still going on. So we ask them to bear with us in those instances. Normally, we wouldn't do that, but certainly we want to make sure that we get every campus as safe and secure as possible this year. And so that requires us to work right through the start of school. But I know Mr. Hutchinson would like to comment a little bit about Atwater and tell you kind of actually how does all that come together on a campus that's hopefully going to be secure day one.
Absolutely. So as Jody had said, our campus is, we were constructed about 9-10 years ago. So it is very secure already, but there are enhancements that we can make just in terms of extending some fence lines, adjusting some of the gates that we have, and being a little bit more strategic in terms of how we're bringing students and the citizens onto campus. In terms of our front office area, we do have buzzer-controlled access already. However, we found ways to enhance that also in terms of establishing a little bit more of a secure reception area prior to allowing folks access into the building. So even in a school like ours, just some minor changes we feel are really going to benefit our students, our staff, and our community, and we're excited about those.
I was just gonna add, because as I'm sitting here thinking about, I know we've invested a lot of time, and even before Parkland, we knew that school security was an issue, and this is just an evolving and changing time, and all of us are trying to figure out what that solution looks like. And after last week and seeing what happened in Santa Fe, Texas, and your gut, I have no words to it. You want to find the right solution, and I think that's really important. It's not lost as a parent on me and all of us up here is trying to find that solution so we can invest in the infrastructure, and that's going to play a pivotal role. I think the other part is, again, supporting our staff so that they understand how to respond, because no scenario is the same. And then, by the way, the most important thing that they're here to do is learn, so making sure that they have that time and focus, and so that they can focus on instruction and not be worried about outside threats or inside threats. And so it's just a constant evolution. And I know that everyone in the community is incredibly passionate about it and concerned, and so it's just not lost on me that when we talk about these different solutions, it goes deeper, which I know we'll talk about the next segment. So.
Well, I'm here listening to all the excitement. I can hear the excitement on this project from all of you. Even I'm excited about it. Did you want to say something, Dr. Bowden?
No, I just want to follow up on what Jody said, is that if you go back and anchor our work on February 14th, just the amount of work and time that the board has put in regards to, we've had executive sessions. We were fortunate enough to have one of our board members and a principal go and meet with the governor. But when you think about how much work has been accomplished in the last 3 months, and certainly as you project that into the next 90 days, I just want to commend our board for the amount of time and energy. I can make proposals, but I don't have the ability to allocate dollars. And so we have allocated $25 million to these projects. We have vetted a number of options in regards to how do you provide security personnel on campuses, but just the work that our board has put in and the leadership that they've done, I just want to commend them for that.
Great. I think we have a Facebook question, do we?
We do, Sandra. We actually have a couple, and I think these are going to go to Michael. Michael, we've got Cynthia from Facebook, and then we've got Pat. So I'm just going to kind of gang these two questions up. One is, what's the benefit to the district for having an internal police force? And then Pat's asking, what is the schedule for hiring the internal police force, and what is the contingency plan that is in place by the beginning of this school year?
All right, so some of the benefits of having our own police department, they're certainly, in my opinion, they're prolific and they're meaningful. And so what I mean by that is when you look at the benefits that it provides, first off, we are able to have police officers in our schools that can connect with the school community in a much broader and a much deeper way that you're simply not able to do when they belong to another agency. And that means we can have them engage with our students in ways, certain hours of the day that we don't have SROs today, for special events, when we have threats at the school, and for different kinds of demands that will be placed on our officers, having the breadth and the depth and the ability to manage those officers in a way that makes sense for us. So let's talk about youthful behaviors for a second. So a lot of our kids, we have kids, so probably most of us here have kids, and sometimes they just will do something that's causes us a little bit of angst, right? It gets you twisted into a knot one way or another. And so it may be right on the line whether or not it's an arrestable offense or not. So if you have police officers or any other law enforcement agency that comes in and is just there without being part of the community in a major way, they'll say, well, heck with this, I'm going to arrest them. So that youthful behavior that we know kids have, our law enforcement officers, it's imperative to have the right person sign on as a law enforcement officer. So youthful behaviors are times of opportunity for us to engage with the students in a way that can help them learn and grow without being arrested. Because sometimes when your patience is tried and you don't have any skin in the game, and you know that's your assignment, that's where you're going to be working. And I work for the school district. I am much more broadly and deeply engaged with the whole law enforcement piece. You simply cannot have that with outside agencies who come and go. And so that is one of, in my mind, probably some of the more important reasons why we go with our own law enforcement agency. So the goal here is, let me just first say that as we move forward with this initiative, which I believe in wholeheartedly because I believe it's right for Sarasota County. So it's not that we aim high and we miss. It's that we aim too low and we hit our target. So what I mean by that is our goal is to get the most amount of work done in the timeline for the kids, for the safety and security, not only kids, but our staff members and our visitors there. So yeah, we set ambitious goals. We can set low goals and strive and hit those and then leave some schools exposed to vulnerability? Absolutely not. So we set high goals, we strive to reach them, as opposed to setting our lower kind of goal and then hitting that mark. It doesn't make sense to leave some of the district and some children exposed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we move forward with that in mind. So our timeline is to have the 21 officers or chief and some sergeants and our 21 officers in place for August. And we are moving for that as best we can. Yes, it's ambitious. Is it possible? Yes. Is it challenging? Yes. But if we don't hit that mark and we have to delay it a little bit, we will have officers in our campuses, and we will very quickly thereafter get to where we need to be.
And I would just add to that, just that I recognize that myself had concerns, still wanting to make sure it's done accurately, done right. I know that many people in the community have a lot of angst around it, and so you know, as it's evolved, I think the biggest thing for me, and I'm sure everyone in the community, is to make sure that we don't miss that target. It's the implications are too high, and we can't keep our eye off our target as a school district, which is primary focus is to educate. And so I know that there are a lot of questions surrounding the internal police department.
Excellent. Okay.
Thank you.
I want to just share some positive news. We have advertised our chief of police position and our first 3 sergeants. And I have to tell you that we expected that we would get a response, but I don't know that we predicted we would get the response that we have. We have 24 applicants for our chief of police position. That posting closes on Friday. So if you're out there and you have an interest in the chief of police, that application needs to be in by Friday. And I believe there are 26 applications for our sergeant positions. One of the things that we found is there were some people who applied for both the chief of police and the sergeant positions. And what I believe is that out of those 26 who have applied for sergeant positions, some of those may be interested in working as school resource officers. And the school resource officer position is posted. We will keep that position up until we have fully staffed. But if you have an interest in that position, we are now accepting applications for police officer.
Excellent. All right. Do we have another question?
I think, Sandra, that might take us to our
Okay, to Mr. Andreas, what type of background is needed to become a school resource officer in a school?
So let's just say, for me, the most important piece is that they be men and women of integrity. And so it all starts there. So people who do the right thing when no one is looking, and that they have an understanding of what it means for a sense of duty, and have an understanding of the concept we call selfless service, and that they understand that they're there for the community. So for me, you know, you can look at all the certificates, and you can send people to training, and you can do all these kinds of things, which we can conduct our training ourselves and with conjunction to other agencies, but it all starts with the moral character of the men and women we put in uniform.
Thank you so much. Thank you, and thank you, everyone, for your insightful answers. To have questions on Facebook for the Schools District Safety and Security, please send an email to schoolsafetyfeedback@sarasotacountyschools.net and stay connected via district website and social media. We will going to take a short break with new guests, and we will be right back. Stay with us.
Stealing a golf cart, joyriding around. Well, I know a lot of people don't realize that grand theft is $300 or more, and so that was grand theft, stealing the golf cart. And I was just an accomplice, I wasn't driving it, but I had a bag of marijuana on me, so I also got in trouble for possession.
There it is right there. It's a very real thing. You are then able to go out and on a job interview, on a school application, if you're asked, have you ever been convicted of a crime? No. Most of the kids who go through the program aren't even charged yet. They're directly referred from law enforcement or from their school or from hearing their parents. They don't even have charges to ever deal with. And if they do, the charges get dropped.
It's referring them to services, following up to make sure they got through to someone. It's all of that. So those client coordinators on the front lines are doing the most difficult work. They're hearing these family stories and they're doing something about it.
Welcome back to the Digital Town Hall. Thank you for joining us on Facebook Live, Twitter, and the Education Channel. This event is also streamed live on website at sarasotacountyschools.net. Our first segment covered school safety. For this next segment, we will discuss the schools district's enhanced mental and behavioral services for students. Superintendent Dr. Todd Bowden and School Board Chair Bridget Ziegler joins us again. We are also joined by three new guests. Please introduce yourselves.
Hello, I'm Laura Kingsley. I am the Chief Academic Officer for Sarasota County.
Good evening. I'm Sonia Figueiredo Alvarez, and I am the Executive Director of Pupil Support Services.
Hi, good evening. I'm Debbie Jackalone, and I am the Supervisor for Student Services.
Hello again. I'm Mina Azrab, the Manager of Digital Communications, and I'll be monitoring social media tonight and keep your questions coming, and we'll try to get to as many as we can.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you and welcome everyone. Good mental health is critical to a child's success in school and in life. In fact, research demonstrates that students achieve better academically when they receive social, emotional, and mental support. This is such a critical service to provide students. Dr. Kingsley, can you provide an overview of the school district's current practices and what we expect going forward?
I would be delighted to. We're so excited that Sonia and Deb are here too to add to the conversation. You know, in our district, we have an entire department, the Pupil Support Services Department, that supports our children, which includes social workers and homeschool liaisons, school psychologists, and certified school counselors, not guidance counselors.
That's correct.
Debbie corrected me today. They are called certified school counselors, and I'm going to get that language in, so will the rest of us, I'm sure. I'm really excited by the fact that this year alone, we had training events for those folks, including youth mental health first aid, which is a really important community training that we put our folks through. They had trauma-informed care training and suicide prevention training. There were 216 participants from that department in that training. And then, of course, at the school level, we have school teams that meet weekly to work with individual students. Parents can ask for support for their child, and the team will get together and work with the parents. Teachers can ask for support for a child, and the team meets weekly to talk about that.
Dr. Kingsley, I love that point that you just made, because one of our goals is to make sure that every student who needs help is recognized. So through those trainings that Dr. Kingsley was talking about, our staff has become more aware of the needs of students, so we can recognize student needs without a stigma and get kids the help that they need right away. So we're really proud of that initiative and that effort.
You know, Deb, you should also be proud of, I am so impressed by our website now. You have put so many resources, you and your staff have put resources that, of course, Mina has helped us upload so that families can get a lot of support right on our district website. It will answer many questions that they may have about the mental support, that mental health support. And I might just mention this before we turn it over to Sonia to talk about services. I was so impressed at one of the school board meetings, Ms. Ziegler, when we had one of our community members ask the question we should probably all be asking. It's not what's wrong with you, it's what do you need? So for students, when they're experiencing behavioral or mental health challenges, school system, we're not mental health, or we're not professional medical professionals, but we can say to a child, what do you need to be successful? And we had a professional come at one of the school board meetings, which also was dittoed by many of the experts that we investigated with on our mental health plan. I know Sonia wants to talk about who is our great leader of the Pupil Support Services Department. Sonia, what do those services look like?
I think parents need to know in our community that at any time they see or any concerns about their children, every single school in our district does have a school-wide support team where teachers, parents, administrators, anyone can refer a child, and then we have to find out what is going on. It's not what's wrong with the child, but how can we connect those resources? That's our passion of Pupil Support Services. We are a service to our schools. We have to make sure that our teachers are having the tools in their repertoire to provide that support to the students, and that our families understand that we are here to teach, and then we can connect those resources to the family through community partnerships, in which we have a vast majority of that. Within that, we also encourage students to access support within our guidance counselors. We have exceptional student education supporting the schools, our administration. When they see a child needing for help, how can they connect those resources? We're also ensuring that our students know how to access tools like crisis text line. We are sending and providing tools to all our students K through 12 how to access those tools, but also it's encouraging that we provide the tools to our teachers for them to be able to teach, and then we can guide those students that present with more challenging behaviors on what and how to provide those connecting resources. One of the great partnerships in our community is the opportunity of bringing some mental health reports. We have some pilot sites in our schools, and this year, with the support of our superintendent, our academic chief officer, our school board, we're able to embrace more partnership with agencies that are specializing in mental health support to bring it into the schools and have that continuous support to that student who has additional crisis needs.
Our social workers do such a great job of being part of those school-wide support teams that Sonia mentioned.
Right.
It's really amazing to see that when a kid who really needs help, more than we could give them at the school level, our social workers are reaching out to those community agencies and providing those wraparound services. So we have a really strong partnership with not only the community agencies, but the families who are bringing our children to school every day.
Excellent.
I just want to add, I think this is, excuse me, such a critical component as going back to what I said at the beginning, was saying when we're scratching our heads and trying to figure out what is going on, how do we fix this? And so it's quick to go immediately to the mitigation of security when we think about law enforcement and infrastructure, but the mental health component is so critical. We're growing up, our children are growing up in a completely different environment than any of us did, and so not the what's wrong with you, but how can we help you, so students don't feel alienated anymore, because if you look at some of the most tragic events, it's oftentimes when a student, for whatever reason, has felt alienated. So whatever we can do to create a culture and environment for our students to thrive, whatever their circumstances, and connect them to all the great resources that we're fortunate to have in Sarasota County, I believe is one of the biggest keys in trying to change that.
To align to that, we're having one of our big initiatives coming up this school year is to allow our teachers to enhance their ability to provide a social emotional component within their classrooms. And that is, we are going to continue enhancing the ability for them to use restorative practices within the classroom. And again, using curriculum that can guide to a social and emotional stability and sustain that. Because a lot of times we begin initiatives, but we don't monitor, and they go away. Our intent here in our school district is to provide enhancement of opportunities to our teachers so they can continue teaching. Then we will deal and refer out for those children that do need that additional intensity, but be able to sustain with partnerships, and is building a culture of respect, of civility, and with that, we also are partnering and integrating all those tools that will come to allow teachers to teach and for us to provide the support services such as Civility Squad.
Yeah,
you want to share that?
I was just going to say that one of the things that we heard so much during the first segment was it takes more than just one person. And that is the beauty of the Civility Squad and the partnership that we have with the Gulf Coast Community Foundation. We are so fortunate to be able to be part of a community-wide initiative where we're promoting civility throughout the community, but also in our schools. We start with our classrooms and have a ton of restorative practices in place where we build a community of belonging where every student feels safe and secure. And all of this fits really nicely into our framework of positive behavior support. So we're working every single day to build a culture where kids feel safe, where teachers can teach and students can learn. And that's the baseline of the foundation for all of the great work that we're doing moving forward. It's a system.
I want to add on to that.
Yes, ma'am.
Because it does take more than one. And I was excited to hear about our police officers, but I just want to add that every school I have been at this past month when we've had the community in, all of those law enforcement officers and sheriff's deputies. They just own our kids. It's been so exciting to see this wraparound support that extends, and I picture it as a human pyramid. So, you know, we live in Sarasota. We have the circus. You all have seen that human pyramid where, you know, they just keep balancing on top of each other. I picture the child on the top, and underneath that, we have their teachers, we have their parents, we have law enforcement officers, soon to be our own police officers. We have under that our community holding all of us up. And I have to do a shout out because Gulf Coast Community Foundation really supported us big time with the Civility Squad. The Charles and Marjorie Bransick Foundation recognized that there may not be support in our community for those really serious cases where children need therapy. They realize that there are long waiting lists, that children struggle to get to, and parents struggle to get to those resources. So they're working right now on doing a scan of what's available and what we can do to support further. The Community Foundation has also done a lot for us, thinking about teen court and giving us additional services. And
we could go on and on because we're
moving right along here.
I got to get my book in.
You're doing. Oh, okay. Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you, because I don't want to lose it.
Go ahead and do that.
The thing that I also think we really need to think about is the way we all talk to our children. So, you know, just like every time that I've done this, I just want to remind folks that we are sharing messages with our children, whether it's parents to the children or whether it's our teachers talking to our children. Things like this book, The Girl Who Never Made Mistakes. It's all about having a growth mindset. If we can start when children are little saying to them, oh, you made a mistake. I bet you learned. Because mistakes are just learning. Failure is just another opportunity to learn.
Absolutely.
Or like Tony Dungy's book. This is a great one for families. We all know and love. I know everyone's interested in the hockey game tonight, but you know, our favorite football coach has written a children's book. It's called You Can Do It. And it reminds me of what we want the message to be to every child. We want every teacher, every principal, every one of us saying to every child, you can do it. It's really important. What you're learning in school, whatever it is that you have to learn, you can do it, and it's really important. And guess what? And this is the most important thing. I will not give up on you.
Great. Excellent. Well, let's talk a little bit about bullying, Dr. Bowden. Do you have any policy in place for anti-bullying? You know, it's been a lot of bullying and discrimination, and how the students, what do they know that's appropriate behavior? Do you have anything in place in that regard?
Absolutely. Matter of fact, one of our most detailed policy is our policy on bullying and harassment. It's 12 pages in its entirety, and it talks about definitions of bullying, responsibilities of staff, responses to it. As a matter of fact, I have this policy here in front of me, and there's a couple passages that if I might, I'd like to just kind of read, because I think it reinforces our position. You know, it opens by saying it is the policy of the Sarasota County School District that all of its students and school employees have an educational setting that is safe, secure, and free from harassment and bullying of any kind. The district will not tolerate bullying and harassment of any type. Conduct that constitutes bullying and harassment as defined in this policy is prohibited, and disciplinary action will be taken. And I think that's important that the public understands that board policy emanates from the school board. We implement a number of procedures as administrative staff. But this is the directive of our board. And what they have said is we will not tolerate bullying and harassment in this school district. There's another passage that, if you're tuned in on Facebook, it probably means you're pretty savvy on social media. Right. And we encounter our students today. Well, quite honestly, they live in a different world than when I went to high school. And so where bullying and harassment used to be confined to the cafeteria and the playground and places that you had direct interaction with people, now bullying and harassment really can be a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week proposition just because of the social media tools that our kids have available to them. And many times we spend talking about harassment of a cyber nature. And it is always surprising to our students when we say you can be held accountable at school on Monday for the tweet that you sent on Saturday night. Because if it has the ability to impact another person's educational experience, then we're going to hold you accountable for it. And this is exactly what our policy says. And I think it's very important, particularly for students and parents out there, to understand that if harassment is done through the use of technology or an electronic device, even if it is not owned, leased, or used by the school district or school, if the bullying substantially interferes with or limits the victim's ability to participate in or benefit from the services, activities, and opportunities offered by a school or substantially disrupts the educational process, then we have the ability to take action. And so many times we hear, wait a minute, that happened after school or that happened on Saturday. If you're impacting another student's ability to achieve their educational goals, we would consider that a school issue.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much. I think we have a Facebook question, Mina.
We do, and I'll be honest, I don't know who this goes to. I don't know if it goes to Deb or Sonia or maybe Dr. Kingsley, but this might go to you. We have a student advance statement that came in, and this was really touching. There are times when I just need to talk to my certified school counselor, not wait an hour for an appointment in a chair crying. So what is it that we do? And I do have a question from a parent after that, if you want to just take the first one, and then we'll get to the second one.
We never want to hear stories like that in our district, and part of our comprehensive behavioral health plan is going to be addressing that very need. We are committed to taking a look at our schools and the data that's coming out of our schools and placing certified mental health therapists or mental health counselors in every school where there is a need for additional services. So no child that needs help has to wait to get the help that they need. We're really proud of that initiative. We want to have a strong system of support where everybody has a solid and clear role on how they're supporting all students, from our counselors to our social workers to our school psychologists, and then our partnerships with our community mental health agencies by providing those therapists for kids who need the help.
And that's thanks to a grant, I would call it, from our legislature.
Yes.
I don't know.
No, well, I was going to say, I mean, I think going back to what I said before, I think this is such a critical part of it. And we're fortunate that after Parkland and the legislature and the governor worked, and one of the components was mental health and funding us in the various districts, but continuing to boost up the support that we have needed for so very long. So
excellent. We have another Facebook question.
We do, Sandra. I'm going to gang this one up. The first one's from a parent, and the second one from, I believe, a parent as well. Stuart from Facebook asked, are there any type of training, and I'm assuming this is mental health, are there any types of mental health training available to parents from the district?
Yes, we have in the past year, we have provided what we call parent universities in many different systems of how to look for, what to look for. When do we conduct a threat assessment? What is a gatekeeper? Those are systems topics that help parents really provide the support and where to find the support for those students. This coming year, we hope that we can continue parent universities, and we try to provide those trainings during the day, in the mornings, and also in the evenings. We covered the north area of our school district as well as the south. We also, this past year, provided, we conduct a yearly what we call an agency fair, where we open it to community agencies that come in and they share information for parents, because many times parents don't know where those resources are. So we just held our agency fair at Suncoast Technical College in the evening, and we had over 150 parents that came through looking for information, and these are all for all parents. So we hope we can continue aligning those supports throughout the district. I think it's very important that parents know where to go, how to ask for help, and that is our passion, to provide supports to the schools so we can continue maintaining the learning that should go into their schools.
Mina, can I just put a plug in to another community mental health training that's out there for families, and that is the
Youth Mental Health First Aid Training.
Yes, and that's something that we will splash on our website, thanks to you, Mina. We will splash when we hear where that is available. And the agency fair was so incredible. And honestly, with a district this size, I was disappointed that there weren't more families there. So I don't know if we need to do a better job getting the message out, because I don't know, Sonia, how many mental health providers were represented there?
We had over 175 agencies in that community.
Yeah, it was the perfect opportunity to find resources.
I also need to make an announcement, Deb. Do you know we Circuit 12, which covers Manatee, Sarasota, and DeSoto, will be holding their community agents fair coming up in August, and we are going to announce that specific date on our website. And this is, again, opportunity for families to come and get information, get resources of where to go, what's available, because our community has been very somewhat nurturing in terms of services not available for youth. So we are evolving, and we are receiving more and more providers that are willing to help out our families.
Can I say one more thing?
I've got a quick question from Facebook, related. We've talked about the outside, parents and things like that. We do have a question from Jennifer. What about the inside of the classroom? What are some examples of teachers and the curriculum inside of a classroom related to emotional or maybe mental behavioral?
Social and emotional well-being is imperative for all teachers. So integrating within the framework of positive behavior, we continue and we will continue selecting specific curriculum to give to teachers in terms of maintaining that core, embracing those opportunities to keep a safe environment, and also allowing that child that needs additional support where to go. So our goal for this behavioral health plan is to to continue enhancing teachers' opportunities to have a repertoire within their toolbox of how to maintain a safe and healthy environment within the classroom, to integrate restorative practices within the classroom, and also use curriculum that is part of the civility initiative about respect, about taking turns, about social emotional interaction with children, about taking turns, because that's part of the well-being of a child.
The students have to thrive mentally in order to be successful academically. So that's a focus. That's what our team does. We concentrate on the social emotional well-being of every student so that they can achieve at the highest level academically.
And it's imperative to also add to that is that we have to wrap around and give those tools to parents too.
Yes.
And that's how it's important.
They're our partners.
They are our partners, and we have to integrate it.
Let me jump on that, because I want to put in a plug for another family opportunity. Thanks to the Education Foundation, we're going to have a really big focus on the second part of what Dr. Bowden was talking about, the cyberbullying and social media issues, and that is going to be called Screenagers. There will be a really great movie event coming up in October for families, so I hope every family is really watching and considering opportunities that are going to be coming up, and to look on our website. And also, Mina, to always email if they have questions or concerns about their child.
Thank you all so much. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, we have to wrap you. We are out of time. We are out of time right now. And I want to thank everybody on the panel and everyone who watched on Facebook and everyone who sent in every question about tonight's conversation. And I want to thank all of you. We look forward to seeing you at our next digital town hall when the new school year commences. Until then, I'm Sandra Washington. Good night, everybody. Thank you.